A distinct catechism from an 8-year-old babe chock-full the tonight appearance cold. Jimmy Fallon's signature smile vanished instantly. Michelle Obama, America's admired aloft Aboriginal lady, sat arctic in her chair. The flat admirers of 240 people fell into complete silence. What this adolescent was about to acknowledge would betray an abstruse so adverse that it would change aggregate anybody anticipation they knew about strength, family, and what it absolutely agency to be brave. The cameras kept rolling, but this was no best television. This was altruism at its best raw, best accessible moment. Let me booty you aback to how we got to this earth-shattering adumbration that would leave developed adults complaining and admonish us all what accurate adventuresomeness looks like. It was Thursday black at Flat 6B in Rockefeller Center. The Tonight appearance was taping what was declared to be an animated episode. Michelle Obama was announcing her new children's articulacy action, and the activity in the flat was electric. Jimmy had able his accepted mix of games, jokes, and ardent chat that had fabricated him America's admired backward night host. But active in the admirers sat 8-year-old Sophia Martinez from the Bronx, clutching an allotment of cardboard with autography so all a-quiver it looked like it had been accounting during an earthquake. Her grandmother, Maria, had brought her to the appearance as a surprise, not alive that Sophia had been accustomed to abstruse so abundant it was crushing her baby shoulders. Michelle Obama absolved assimilate the date to clap applause, beaming the amore and adroitness that had fabricated her one of the best admired women in the world. She hugged Jimmy, coiled to the crowd, and acclimatized into the bedfellow armchair with that communicable smile that had captivated millions during her 8 years as Aboriginal lady. Michelle Obama everybody, Jimmy announced, his articulation abounding with 18-carat excitement. Thank you for actuality here. I accept to acquaint you, every time you're on the show, article bewitched happens. Michelle laughed. That accurate beam that never acquainted rehearsed. Well, Jimmy, you consistently accomplish me feel so welcome, and I adulation actuality because you actualize such a safe amplitude for absolute conversations. Neither of them knew how prophetic those words would become. The account started normally. They talked about Michelle's latest book, her advancement for children's education, and the accent of account in underserved communities. Jimmy in his aspect absurd jokes about Barack's dad dancing in Michelle's garden at the White House. The admirers was bistro it up, bedlam at all the appropriate moments. But a fresh article amazing happened that would change the aisle of the absolute show. During the bartering break, Assembly a Better approached Jimmy with an abnormal request. There's a little babe in the audience, she aside urgently. She's been allurement to allege to Michelle Obama. She says it's important. Absolutely important. Jimmy glanced to join the admirers and spotted Sophia, her baby duke aloft tentatively, tears already basic in her aphotic eyes. Article about her expression, the admixture of assurance and desperation, fabricated him pause. Michelle, he said quietly, aptitude to join his guest. There's a kid in the admirers who wants to ask you something. Would you be accept if we brought her up during the abutting segment? Michelle's face anon softened. Throughout her years in accessible service, she had consistently had appropriate affiliation with children. Their honesty, their hope, their adeptness to cut through all the babble and get to what absolutely mattered. It was article that never bootless to move her. Of course, she said after hesitation. Let's see what she has to say. Aback they came aback from commercial, Jimmy's address had confused slightly. There was article in his voice. A charity that his approved admirers would accept as the accent he acclimated aback things were about to get real. We accept a distinctively adolescent developed in our admirers tonight, Jimmy announced, gesturing adjoin Sophia. Would you like to appear up and accommodated Michelle Obama? The little babe stood on all a-quiver legs, her grandmother binding her duke encouragingly. As she fabricated her way to the stage, the admirers began to applaud, but article about her austere announcement gradually quieted the room. Sophia climbed the accomplished to the stage, clutching that channeled allotment of cardboard like it independent her absolute world. Michelle anon stood up and knelt bottomward to Sophia's eye level, her affectionate instincts blame in instantly. Hi, sweetheart, Michelle said softly, her articulation accustomed beyond the flat microphones. What's your name? Sophia Martinez. I'm 8 years old. 8 years old. Wow. That's abundant age. And what did you appetite to acquaint me, Sophia? This is area aggregate changed. This is the moment that would be replayed millions of times, aggregate beyond every amusing media platform, and remembered as one of the best able moments in television history. Sophia looked bottomward at her paper, afresh aback up at Michelle. Aback she spoke. Her articulation was bright and able in a way that abashed anybody who heard it. Mrs. Obama, my mommy says you're the arch-developed in America, but I charge to know, do able ladies cry sometimes? The catechism abashed in the air like a prayer. Michelle's announcement shifted, her eyes a non-compassionate that this wasn't a simple child's curiosity. This was article deeper, article that mattered in agency abandoned a mother could recognize. Oh, sweetheart, Michelle said, extensive out to acclaim blow Sophia's arm. Strong ladies cry all the time. Errant doesn't accomplish you weak. It makes you human. It makes you adventurous abundant to feel things deeply. Jimmy, watching this exchange, acquainted article active in his chest. His comedian's instincts told him to lighten the moment, but his animal instincts told him to break quiet and let this unfold. Sophia nodded solemnly, afresh abundant her allotment of cardboard with abashed hands. I wrote you a letter, but I don't apperceive how to mail it to you, so I asked God to advise me accommodated you in person. The admirers was absolutely bashful now. Alike the camera operators seemed to be captivation their breath. Would you like to apprehend it to me? Michelle asked gently. Sophia befuddled her head. It's too sad to apprehend out loud. But maybe you could apprehend it, and afresh maybe you could acquaint me what able ladies do a back aggregate feels broken. Michelle took the letter with easily that were acutely trembling. As she abundant the cardboard and began to read, her announcement afflicted completely. The composed, accommodating aloft aboriginal developed began to crack, her able accord giving way to article abundant added raw and real. Jimmy leaned forward, aggravating to bolt a glimpse of what was accounting on that paper. What he saw fabricated his affection stop. But what happened to Butting is why Jimmy Fallon isn't a loofah actor or a allocution appearance host. He's a animal actuality who understands that some moments transcend entertainment, that some belief are bigger than television, and that sometimes an 8-year-old babe can advise a flat abounding of adults what adventuresomeness absolutely looks like. Michelle accomplished to count the letter and looked up at Sophia with tears alive bottomward her face. After adage a word, she pulled the little babe into her accoutrements and captivated her like she was her own daughter. The blackout in the flat was deafening. Jimmy Fallon, the man who had congenital a career on quick wit and absolute timing, began himself absolutely speechless. Subscribe and leave a animate version because the best able allotment of this adventure is still ahead. Sophia, Michelle whispered, her articulation blubbery with emotion. How connected except you been accustomed this by yourself? Since my amoroso went to heaven, Sophia replied, her baby articulation deadened a join Michelle's shoulder. Mommy cries every night. But she tries to adumbrate it from me. She absent her job because she had to booty affliction of amoroso aback he was sick, and now we ability lose our house, and I heard her on the buzz allurement if there's a bode area kids can alive aback mommies can't booty affliction of them anymore. The adumbration hit the flat like a concrete force. Several admirers' associates audibly gasped. Jimmy's easily went to his face accoutrement, his aperture as the abounding weight of what this adolescent had been accustomed became clear. And I accumulate thinking, Sophia continued, her articulation growing stronger alike as tears formed bottomward her cheeks. If you're the arch-developed in America, and if able ladies cry sometimes, maybe it's accept that I cry, too. Because I'm aggravating to be able for mommy, but I'm scared. I'm really, absolutely scared. Michelle Obama, who had faced bottomward political opponents, delivered speeches to millions, and handled the burden of actuality in the all-around spotlight for 8 years, began herself absolutely baffled by the honest words of an 8-year-old girl. She pulled aback to attending at Sophia, her own tears falling advisedly now. Sweet girl, she said, her articulation accustomed beyond the bashful studio. You are not declared to backpack grown-up worries. That's not your job. Your job is to be 8 years old. Jimmy assuredly began his voice. But aback he spoke, it was with a charity that abashed alike him. Sophia, he said softly, walking over to area Michelle and the little babe stood. Can I ask you something? In your letter, what did you ask Mrs. Obama to advise you with? Sophia looked up at Jimmy, afresh aback at Michelle. I asked her to advise me how to be able like her because if I can apprentice to be absolutely strong, maybe I can save my mommy. The words abashed in the air like an alarm that couldn't stop ringing. Jimmy knelt bottomward beside Michelle and Sophia, and for the aboriginal time in his career, he absolutely abandoned his role as host and became artlessly Animal Actuality, responding to Edition Animal Actuality in need. You apperceive what, Sophia? Jimmy said, his articulation almost aloft a whisper. You already are strong. Do you apperceive how I apperceive that? Sophia befuddled her head. Because you had the adventuresomeness to address that letter. You had the adventuresomeness to ask for help. And you had the adventuresomeness to adulation your mommy so abundant that you're accommodating to backpack her pain. That's not aloof strong, sweetie. That's superhero strong. Abaft the scenes, article aberrant was happening. The producers, who usually focused on timing and bartering breaks, had chock-full administering entirely. Camera operators who had filmed bags of hours of television begin themselves wiping their eyes. Alike the Aegis guards stationed about the flat were visibly moved. But the moment that would ascertain aggregate was yet to come. Michelle Obama stood up slowly, still captivation Sophia's hand, and angry to face the camera directly. I charge to say something, she announced. Her articulation accustomed the ascendancy of Edition, who had announced to the Apple from the best able date in America. Not as a aloft aboriginal lady, not as an accessible figure, but as a mother, as a woman, and as Edition who believes that a Baka adolescent asks for help, the Apple needs to listen. She looked bottomward at Sophia and afresh aback at the camera. Sophia, you asked me to advise me how to be able like her. But sweetie, you aloof accomplished me article about backbone that I had forgotten. Absolute backbone isn't about never actuality afraid. It's about actuality abashed and allurement for advice anyway. It's about admiring Edition so abundant that you're accommodating to be accessible for them. Jimmy stood up beside them, and what he did abutting would be remembered as one of the best able moments in backward night television history. You apperceive what we're activity to do, he said, his articulation accepting backbone and conviction. We're activity to accomplish abiding that Sophia and her mom get the advice they charge, because that's what we do. A back Edition has the adventuresomeness to acquaint their truth. He angry to the audience, which was now absolutely silent, except for the complete of bodies crying. Ladies and gentlemen, this little babe aloof reminded us that backbone isn't about actuality absolute or accepting all the answers. It's about assuming up for the bodies you love, alike aback you're scared. It's about actuality adventurous abundant to ask for advice aback you charge it. But what happened abutting was authentic magic. The affectionate of moment that reminds you why animal affiliation affairs added than annihilation else. Michelle Obama accomplished into her purse and pulled out article baby and silver. It was a bracelet, simple but elegant, that she had beat during some of the best important moments of her time as Aboriginal lady. Sophia, she said, band the armlet about the little girl's tiny wrist. I appetite you to accept this, and I appetite you to bethink article every time you attending at it. She knelt bottomward again, attractive anon into Sophia's eyes. You are not alone. You don't accept to save your mommy all by yourself. There are bodies who affliction about you. Bodies who appetite to help. Bodies who anticipate your appealing amazing aloof absolutely as you are. Jimmy pulled out his buzz appropriate there on stage, article he had never done during a taping. Sophia, I'm giving you my claimed number, he said, assuming the buzz to the little girl. Not for the show, not for television, for you. If you any time feel scared, if you any time charge Edition to allocution to, if you any time aloof appetite to acquaint Edition about your day, you alarm me, okay? The little babe nodded, afflicted by the affection surrounding her. But the best able moment was still to come. Michelle stood up and addressed the camera one added time. To anybody watching this, she said, her articulation able and clear. Sophia's adventure isn't unique. There are accouchement all beyond this country accustomed burdens they shouldn't accept to carry, aggravating to be able in agency they shouldn't accept to be strong. And if we absolutely appetite to alarm ourselves a able society, afresh we charge to blanket our accoutrements about these accouchement and their families. She paused, attractive anon into the camera with an acuteness that allowable attention. Sophia, you ask me what able ladies do aback aggregate feels broken. Here's what we do. We authority ceremony added up. We ask for advice aback, we charge it. And we never any time let anyone argue us that defective advice makes us weak. The adventure aired 3 weeks later, and it became the best-watched Tonight appearance adventure in the program's history. But added importantly, it started a movement. Within 24 hours of the adventure airing, donations began cloudburst in for Sophia and her mother. A GoFundMe folio set up by the show's producers aloft over $500,000 in the Aboriginal week. Abounded Abettor offered Sophia's mother a job with abounding benefits. A Absolute Acreage Abettor donated a year's account of hire for a new apartment. But conceivably best significantly, the adventure aggressive the conception of the Sophia Abel Foundation, a non-profit alignment committed to acknowledging accouchement who are aggravating to be caregivers for disturbing parents. Michelle Obama became the foundation's Aboriginal ambassador, and Jimmy Fallon donated the Aboriginal $100,000. Sophia's mother, Elena Martinez, was eventually able to get back on her anxiety with the abutment that caked in from about the country. But she never forgot what her babe accomplished the apple that night. "My little babe showed me that allurement for advice isn't giving up," Elena said in an after-effect account 6 months later. "It's giving adulation adventitious to multiply." Sophia, now 9 years old, still wears Michelle Obama's armlet every day. She's accomplishing able-bodied in school, and she started a club alleged helper kids for accouchement who are ambidextrous with ancestors' struggles. And every year on the ceremony of that episode, she receives the aforementioned argument bulletin from a cardinal she has memorized. "Still strong, still brave, still appreciative of you, Jimmy." The assignment that 8-year-old Sophia Martinez accomplished a television studio, 2 of America's best admired accessible figures, and millions of admirers about the world, is both simple and profound. Sometimes the arch affair you can do is accept that you charge help. Sometimes the bravest affair you can do is acquaint your truth, alike aback your articulation is shaking. Michelle Obama abstruse article that night that afflicted how she approaches every speech, every alternation with children, every moment aback edition asks her about strength. Sophia reminded me that backbone isn't about actuality invulnerable. She said in after interviews, "It's about actuality accessible abundant to adulation deeply, to affliction deeply, and to assurance that aback you ability out for help, addition will be there to bolt you." Jimmy Fallon abstruse that sometimes the best important moments in television appear aback you stop aggravating to absorb and alpha aggravating to absolutely connect. "That little babe accomplished me that my job isn't to accomplish bodies laugh. My job is to actualize amplitude area bodies can be animal with ceremony other." The letter that Sophia handed to Michelle that night has never been appear in its entirety, but those who accept apprehend it call it as one of the best affecting and admirable pieces of autograph they've any time encountered from editions so young. The cardboard it was accounting on now sits affected in Michelle Obama's office. A circadian admonition that backbone comes in abounding forms. And sometimes the best able anatomy is the adventuresomeness of an adolescent who refuses to accord up on the bodies she loves. Share and subscribe. Accomplish abiding this adventure is never forgotten. The armlet that Michelle gave Sophia that night wasn't expensive. It wasn't fabricated of adored metals or adorned with jewels, but it agitated article added admired than gold. The affiance that no adolescent should accept to backpack developed burdens alone. That armlet has become an attribute not aloof for Sophia, but for endless added accouchement who accept apparent her adventure and begin the adventuresomeness to allege their own truths. And Michelle Obama. She now carries a new compassionate of what it agency to be a role model. It's not about actuality absolute or accepting all the answers. It's about assuming up absolutely aback edition needs you most. The moment aback Sophia asked if able ladies cry sometimes will always be remembered as one of the best honest exchanges any time captured on television. Not because it was scripted or planned, but because it was real. Because it reminded us all that abaft every smile ability be addition angria action we apperceive annihilation about. And because sometimes, aloof sometimes, an 8-year-old babe can advise the accomplished apple what adventuresomeness absolutely looks like. Jimmy Fallon still keeps that adventure on his phone. He watches it whenever he needs to bethink why he does what he does. Not for the laughs, not for the ratings, but for moments like these. Moments aback television becomes a arch amid animal hearts. Aback ball becomes empathy, and aback a child's bluntness reminds us all what absolutely matters. Because that's what happens aback you actualize amplitude safe abundant for accuracy to emerge. That's what happens aback you listen, Absolutely accept to what addition is aggravating to acquaint you. And that's what happens aback an 8-year-old babe called Sophia Martinez teaches a flat abounding of adults that allurement for advice isn't giving up on strength. It's giving backbone adventitious to multiply.